Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ramadan Mubarak to all you brothers and sisters. Welcome to Breaking Boundaries on Sky 847. This is Safir TV. Inshallah, today you shall be joining me and Sheikh Ali Ma'asumyan in discussing a subject which is very important in life of every single human being, and that is marriage. Assalamu alaikum, Mawlai.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
It's good to have you with us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, inshallah, we shall begin by bringing up the subject of rights of a Muslim woman, inshallah. We would like to clarify a bit so we may understand both Muslims and non-Muslims may benefit, of course, from this discussion tonight, because there's a lot of misconceptions going on about the subject of marriage within Islam. So Maulana, please, if you could start, inshallah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على محمد وآل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين سيما بغية الله في الأرضين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for this program and this chance. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept your amal. And hopefully we can have a beneficial discussion with regards to marriage and the rights of females and women in the religion of Islam, inshallah.
Inshallah, that's the aim, Sheikh. And thank you very much for joining us.
No problem.
So, inshallah, we would like to open up the discussion by introducing maybe a bit of our rulings concerning the marriage. We know that Muslims are allowed to marry up to 4 wives if conditions are met. Now, what are those conditions, Mawlai?
See, first of all, it should be very clear for everyone that Islam values women, and it values women far higher than any other religion. And in fact, there are misconceptions about the value of females in Islam. Most of it is through ignorance and not through the truth. If we look at the just the surface of the facts surrounding women's rights and women's respect in Islam, you see that Islam came at a time when children, daughters, wives even at some point were being buried alive. Islam came and changed everything to where a Muslim lady, when she becomes married, she has no duties apart from the one duty of pleasing her husband in the household. That's it. The cleaning, the washing, raising children, even feeding the child, she's allowed to ask for payment from the husband for breastfeeding. Breastfeeding, making food is not compulsory on the lady, unless there is a agreement between a man and a woman to begin with. Islam came and changed the ideology of the people of the Arabs from their mentality that women were very secondary humans and did not deserve any respect, and did not deserve to be treated as humans. In fact, they were thought of as bad omens. So if you have a daughter, you will not have money. If you have daughter, you will not have rizq, you will not have respect, you will not have success. Islam came and said, you know what, if you have daughters, if you have one daughter, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving you a blessing, a rahmah from Allah. There's a hadith that says if you have 3 daughters, raise them correctly and marry them, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will allow you to choose which door of heaven you want to enter from into heaven. So the Islamic values came and changed the mentality and the thought of the people back then. Then there are certain laws that go with Islam. Now, we can expand on women's rights in Islam and on what Islam has given women for many sessions, but I want to briefly pass it. Otherwise, there is many issues to talk about what Islam has to offer for ladies. For example, some of the things that people don't realize is that in the Holy Quran, which is the book that is a miracle of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for Muslims, there is a Surah An-Nisa. There is a Surah An-Nisa, but there isn't Surah Al-Rijal. There is a surah in the name of ladies, but there isn't one in the name of men.
Is there a reason behind it, Mawlay?
It's many rawayat, there's many ayat talking about women and issues to do with women. Also, you have, for example, Surah Al-Maryam. So Allah has given this blessing on Maryam to have the respect or have the pleasure to have a surah named after her in the Holy Quran. Now, my point is that these things convey the status of a lady in Islam. With regards to the rulings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, now we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is wise, all-knowing, needless. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may give us certain laws to abide by. These laws are precious for us to abide by, for us to act upon. Why? For our own benefits. Some of these laws are compulsory, some of these laws are things that you are forbidden to do, and some of them are neither. We have 5 laws, so there are things that are recommended. There are things recommended not to do. There are things you have to do. There are things that you must not do, and there are things that are none of the above. Whether you do or not do makes no difference. For example, if you drink orange juice, for example. Now, marrying 4 wives, where does that lead us to? Marrying 4 wives, first of all, is for a man that can meet certain conditions. There are certain conditions that need to be present for a man to be able to marry more than 1 wife, let alone 4.
And what are those conditions, Sheikh?
We'll come to those. That's one. Secondly, it is not compulsory for a man to marry more than 1 wife. So it's not something that Islam says you have to do. But should one meet the conditions and require that for themselves, a man can then marry more than 1 woman.
This is where most people might get a bit misunderstood, that in Islam we have lots of things that are obligatory and are recommended and are permissible and are not recommended. And this is where a lot of people don't understand that something may be permissible but doesn't mean that it's obligatory, that everyone has to do it.
Yeah. Now certain people may say that why is it that women cannot marry more than 1 husband and a husband can marry more than 1 wife? And the answer is quite simple, that men are created different to women. Men have different needs to women. Men are physically, biologically different to women. That is something that cannot be argued. According to those needs, according to those differences, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put down certain laws. Depending on the gender that you are, there are certain laws that you abide by. When it comes to marriage, if a man meets certain criteria and has that need, for example, it may be that a particular marriage, the wife cannot have children, and it's the problem with the wife's genes. She may say, you know what, I would like for you to get married so you can have children. And in some cases we've seen that they live harmoniously, more than 1 wife with the husband. So it's not always across board and it's not always the same. It depends on the particular conditions of each and every person.
Concerning women in marriage. Now, women, as we said, are not the same biologically as men. But one may argue that how can you have the right to marry 4 women and I don't? And we discussed about, I would like to go a bit more further because maybe a non-Muslim might be watching and has this question concerning this matter. For example, one thing that might come in my mind is that jealousy, for example. it might be a reason even for a Muslim woman to deny her husband to marry a second wife. So why didn't Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala remove jealousy of women so there wouldn't be such an issue?
Firstly, you said a non-Muslim may want to know. The laws that we're talking about is with regards to Muslims. Muslim means what? That you submit to the truth. You submit to what is real, what is correct. So, first of all, let's open the argument for believers. If you believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you believe that Islam is the correct religion, and you believe that Allah is all-knowing and wise, and He has put down certain rules for you, then you realize that it's for your benefit to follow these rules and for your benefit only. Now, imagine someone else wants to look at Islam. So first we talk about theological issues. So first we talk about usul ad-din. Marrying one wife or two wives is something in furu' ad-din. It's not usul ad-din. So we talk about usul ad-din first. Why is there a God? What is the attribution of God? Is it one God or more than one God? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Imamah, is there an afterlife? Is God just? These make up usul ad-din. You discuss usul ad-din first. You come to a conclusion with regards to your ideology of what you believe as the pillars of your religion. Then you take the next step to discuss what is haram and what is halal and what is mustahab and what is recommended. There is no point me talking about the way a sheep should be slaughtered when the person does not believe in a creator or a God. So depending on who you speak to, there is different reasoning. If it's a non-Muslim, then it's best to speak about usul ad-din and the actual pillars of Islam before you talk about furu' ad-din. When it comes to a Muslim person, that's a different matter altogether. A Muslim person should submit to what is the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you can prove that a narration is correct or an ayah is from the Holy Quran, then there should be no doubt that they must follow it.
Understood. It makes perfect sense. So regards to this subject, something else that troubles a lot of families is violence within a marriage. A couple may not be going that well, and also may a man even strike his wife, and in the presence of the children. What is the best, maybe from a way of viewing it from the regulations, from the jurisprudence? Is it permissible for a Muslim man to hit his wife?
See, physical violence is something that everyone should stay away from, whether it's male, female, children against children, children against elders, elders against children. Altogether, physical violence is not a resolve for any problem. It's not a solution to anything. Physical violence is rooted from ignorance. It's from not knowing another way to deal with something that one resorts to physical violence. So in a family, in a society, no one for any particular issue or problem should resort to physical violence or any kind of violence. At the end of the day, we've been given a common sense, we've been given brains, we can think, we can understand, we can comprehend and talk to one another in a reasonable fashion so that we can come to solutions for the problems that we have. Physical violence does not resolve any of the problems that are there. It makes the problem become multiplied.
So would it be wrong or correct for me to say that striking your wife is haram? Would that be correct or wrong?
Striking anyone is haram. Now, when you say, for example, striking your wife, yes, would say that, you know what, you cannot strike anyone in Islam. However, it may be a case that, for example, someone, unless you strike them, it would cause an inevitable harm or a great harm. Imagine a child is about to fall into a railway line and the train is coming. Unless you pull them very hardly, unless you pull their arm very hardly, then they would fall be killed by the train. By you grabbing their arm or grabbing them away, it may cause them some pain, but it's the only way to get them away from being killed. So unless there is something of that nature that you need to strike someone to remove a threat of death or a particular threat that is extreme, then there is no excuse for striking anyone. Vice versa, female, male, or any otherwise.
So from what I understand, Sheikhna, there might be two scenarios of some sort of violence. One would be out of total ignorance, and because the person has no idea of how to handle the situation, would just automatically use his force. So the second one would be out of love. Could I say that? That someone may strike, or maybe how a father would strike his son, not because he doesn't love his son, but to protect him. Is that correct? May I say that?
See, first of all, Islam does not condone any violence. So we're not talking about violence, but it may be a one-off act.
Maulana, we have a caller, sorry to interrupt. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaykum
I'm glad it's a live
Assalam.
Safir programme today, because a lot of the times it's repeat as well. But I just wanted to say the Sheikh is so right. Like, see what it is, humans are not perfect. The only time you can be perfect if you're 100% in what you believe in and you practice on it. Like being a Muslim myself, this is the time for us to perfect ourselves. If we perfect ourselves after Ramadan, we should be able to feel like that we can control our angers. There should be no violence. There should be no troubles. We should be able to cope with it, because that's what Ramadan teaches us. And even I wanted to say, even if you're not a Muslim, and even if you're in a different religion, everyone always says you have to be good and you shouldn't do violence and you shouldn't do bad things. It's always good and bad, and it's always right and wrong. Everyone should be able to have manners. But the thing is, it's a complicated world that we live in. It's not like that, because egos, prides, angers, if people don't, if one human goes out the line and doesn't control themselves, that's where the troubles cause, and that's how it equals into trouble society and trouble earth and the greed, and that's why we have chaos, murder, rape. That's why the world is not perfect. And even money is a big issue. People that have more money, they think that gives them power. It's not wrong if you use it in a good sense. If money is being used in a wrong way and you've got power and you use it in an evil way, you're going to have more corruption, more trouble. So it's about right and wrong. And all humans have to take control. And when a woman gives birth to a child, if they're a mother and you have a father, they have to be involved and they have to bring up the kids properly. That's their job. And then it's also the teachers' jobs, societies, media. If everyone takes care of each side in the earth, we wouldn't have a troubled earth. We could be able to live in harmony. That's what's wrong with the world. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm always trying to perfect myself as well. I think we all need to do that. We should try it. We should raise it every day, because this is something that should be advertised in post, marketing, media. This is what we need. And Assalamu alaikum. That's what I wanted to put my input, and I said it.
Thank you much. Thank
Ramadan Kareem.
Ramadan Mubarak.
Thank you very much, sister. Thank you.
It is definitely the case that every person in society has a role to play and has a responsibility and has a duty. Every person, for their part, if they're a father, they have their responsibility. If they're a manager, if they're a mother, if they're a student, if they're a teacher, everyone in society has a role to play, and that role affects other people. So if you show violence to one person, then that teaches violence to another person. If you abuse the power that you have over someone else, that affects someone else. As a society, we've been told through Islamic values to care for one another, regardless of race, religion, or gender. Gender is just one of those barriers that people come across, but other things that people see, whether your neighbor is Christian or Jew or whatever other religion that they may be. In fact, if anything, this month is the time to show mercy upon other people and help other people and show them the kind nature that Islam has asked us to promote and to show everyone else, and have compassionate for those that are less fortunate than us. And if we become more fortunate than others, definitely not to abuse or try and use that in our advantage in any way or form. The best way to do that is to remember that this life is very short. As soon as you put your head down, everything is finished. the afterlife begins. It's not worth ruining your afterlife, which is eternal, for a short period of deviant pleasures in this life. And it's deviant pleasures. A pleasure of abuse of power is deviant. If you hit someone because you have physically you're stronger than them, or you can, just because you can, you beat them, this is temporary. Soon enough they'll get bigger than you. If they don't, Allah will have the power to punish you. So as soon as you die, you will have that punishment coming to you. It is not worth us ruining everything just for the sake of having those deviant, devilish pleasures of this life to feel more superior than someone else. So to use violence against your wife is one of the most foolish ways to convey your strength, because it's truly what it shows. It shows that you're weak. A man that beats his wife is a man that is weak inside, because the only person he can prove his strength to is someone that is physically less able. Exactly. There is no doubt men physically are stronger than women, no doubt about it.
Exactly.
But instead of you using it to your benefit, of cleaning the house or taking the garbage or whatever that you can do as a man to help the other person in your life, your wife, to then abuse that power to hit your wife, that is the worst abuse of power that you could possibly have. And truly you will see the downside of it as well. Not only your relationship with your wife will suffer, your children will learn this from you and will take this from you. Not only that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all seeing and all knowing. The blessings will leave your household, the blessings will leave your life. It's a shame to even think about doing such a thing. Instead, take your anger in and try and better yourself. The best thing that one can do is see your own faults as greater than the other person, and the other person's fault as much smaller than they are. If you see themselves, whatever their faults is, better than you, then you will treat them differently. Don't be arrogant and don't see other people as less than yourself. That way you can treat them with more respect, and if you treat them with more respect, then hopefully you can hold your anger within rather than express it in a way of violence.
So Shaykhna, just a question concerning, in a situation of such violence, what kind of right does a Muslim sister have in case she's suffering and her husband constantly is abusing her? What is her right? Can she just take the children, divorce him, and just run away?
You see, one of the issues that we have is that people think that divorce is a simple solution. Divorce is not a simple solution. Divorce is not something that should be thought of as the first step. It should be the last resort. When a man and a woman join in union, and especially when they have children, they've started something very special. It should not be ended unless absolutely necessary. Yes, there are times divorce is the only option. However, it should be the last resort. So every other step has been taken before the last resort, and nothing has helped. When you have children in a marriage, you have started something very important. Divorce, what will have, it will have an impact not only on your life but on those children's life. There is no doubt that a child needs two parents. A child will suffer if they have one parent missing. If you have problems with this person or their personality, you should have taken more care before marriage. And I say this now to those young people that want to get married. Please, please do extensive research with regards to the partner that you wish to become married to. Things have changed. You're allowed to do your research. You're allowed to find out what kind of person you are. You're not forced into anything. Go into it with an open mind, so that tomorrow when you have children, when you're married, there is no need to think about divorce or separation of your husbands or wives. Do your homework beforehand so that you don't have to regret anything, inshallah.
To regards of preparation of marriage, is there any book that we could study, except of the Holy Quran of course, that we may acquire some wisdom and knowledge to how to treat our wife or husband? One thing that may come to my mind would be Risalatul Huquq of Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, which I have read myself, and indeed it is an incredible piece that everyone should read, every Muslim should read and benefit, because
Even non-Muslims.
even Muslims, exactly. So is there anything else that we could approach in order to acquire these information that may make us more understanding human beings?
Yes. When it comes to understanding and becoming better at marriage and living with a partner, there are books that you can read, there are hadith that you can read, there's tafsir of the Holy Quran that you can read. Many ayahs talk about how to treat your partner. However, the fact of the matter is many things come with experience. One of the most important thing is to discuss your problems. Don't let them pile up. Also, bring elders to help you, rather than leave it until it's too late. From the beginning, when you have problems, if you have problems, bring elders, bring people that care, that are honest, trustworthy people, to try and intervene to resolve the problems as soon as they start, so they're nipped in the bud, rather than let it become something that is too late. Also with experience, so when you start, for example, having a family, as you go along, you realize how to behave. You have to compromise and help one another to learn, because when two people first become married, they're both inexperienced about marriage or how to live a joint life. It's only with time that they both learn how to cope with one another and cope with various situations, and also raising children. Although there are many books about how to raise children, the best is to use the experience of those that are elders, that are around you, that can help you in the various ways.
To regards of a couple, since we've discussed a bit about marriage, Malai, I would like now to discuss the subject of adultery and what involves in it. So now we know that marriage obviously is something considered highly recommended and blissful from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to us. What are the implications of us committing adultery, and how does it affect us in this world and in the hereafter?
See, with regards to adultery, one of the main reasons that adultery is committed in a relationship is that there is a problem within that relationship in the first place. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given one duty to the lady and one duty only. In a marriage, the lady has one duty, and that's to please her husband in the bedroom department, nothing else. If she acts upon that one duty, it will close many doors of many things that are haram. One of those is adultery. Now, adultery usually comes from a problem. It is not normal for a person to commit adultery when the needs are met. So when there is a need that is not being met, those people act upon those. One hadith that is on my mind that can be useful for general public, for everyone, for ourselves, is from Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. He says that Malaika were created from Nur, and they were given aql, only aql, intellect. They were not given desires and lust. Whereas the animals were given lust and desires, but were not given the intellect like the angels were given. Humans, on the other hand, were given both. Were given both the intellect and the desires. If humans, or any human, can overcome his or her desires, they will become greater than the malaika, the angels. However, if they let their desires overcome their intellect, they'll become worse than animals. So when you let your desires overcome your intellect, you commit adultery. When you're in that state, you're in a state that you've made yourself become more little and less than animals. Whereas you could have by subduing that particular feeling, by letting it subside and being better than that, reach to be higher and greater than the angels. So it's something that is in the hands of humans and what they do. It's you who has the ability to say yes or no. Shaitan, the devil, is always there to tempt you to the wrong thing. It's down to you to close the doors of temptation of shaitan and open the doors of guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Reciting the Holy Quran, one of the attributes of that is that it helps close the doors of the satanic doors and open the doors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the blessings and the guidance.
Concerning adultery, since there is a way to refrain from it, let's say in a scenario that a man is not happy with his wife and he wants more. Is there a way to avoid adultery? And if there is, what is it?
See, if your point is coming on to a temporary marriage,
Exactly.
both Shia and Sunni Muslims have particular clauses with regards to temporary marriage. However, a temporary marriage, just like the other marriage we discussed, has conditions. Depending on the scholar that you follow, on the marja that you follow, there are different conditions for the marriage of more than one woman, temporary or otherwise. For example, say Sistani has it that if you're married to a Muslim lady and you wish to marry someone outside Islam on a temporary basis, you need to have the permission of your wife to do that. So there are certain conditions to be met.
So if I don't have the permission of my wife, would that temporary marriage be void?
According to some scholars, yes. Now, the point is that if the criteria is there and there is a reason why the need is there, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has opened the door so that adultery does not occur, that the marriage occurs. In a marriage where that lady needs to give a distance after the marriage ends and another marriage begins, so that if a pregnancy starts, they know whose child the baby belongs to, and with regards to inheritance and so forth, it is all clear. So there are certain criteria and there are certain conditions that could be met, but it's definitely a way that would close the doors of adultery.
We have a caller, Sheikh, now. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Good evening.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Yes, would you have a question for the Sheikh?
Yes, I want to, I don't know how to say this. The topic at the moment is regarding temporary marriage. And I think, because I'm a matchmaker, and I try to match the girls and boys, and as probably you're aware that we're going through a lot of problems. We haven't got enough boys or enough, and also there's a lot of divorce rates taking place as well. But I wanted to bring this to Sheikh's attention, or I wanted us to tell Sheikh that I think we need to bring people awareness regarding this temporary marriage, because we have quite a few divorced girls, widow ladies, divorced ladies, at the age they don't want to have any, and they can't even find anybody to marry, especially when they've got children. They don't want to know them. We've got this stigma about divorcee with kids, they're untouchables, And so I wanted to, basically I just wanted to say that it's a good topic. I think we need awareness. And because being ladies, we are a group of 8 ladies doing this thing. And we don't know how to bring people awareness regarding this. Also it's like if anybody comes to know that XY or anybody is going into temporary marriage, it's a big hoo-ha. It's a shame. But if it would have been like that, it wouldn't be allowed in Islam, would it,
Yeah.
Sheikh?
Yes, I mean, there's a good few points that you mentioned, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Islam has put down laws for a particular reason. Allah is best knowing and knows the best for us, although we may not see it or may not know it. As you said, it stops many ladies that have desires as well. It's not just the men, for them not to go into anything haram or forbidden. And also that it's something that is recommended by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Emir in Surah An-Nisa. Surah An-Nisa ayah 24 talks about temporary marriage. So the whole Quran is taught us this, and the Rawayat and Ahadith has taught us this. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not convey this to us or show this to us unless it's in our benefit. And most importantly, it's a way to stop many people committing adultery, which has very, very vast consequences in our society, and it breaks down societies.
Okay, Santam. Is the sister still with us?
Sorry?
Are you still with us, sister?
That's right, yeah,
Yes.
but I can't, I couldn't hear, Sheikh.
Have you got any more questions for the Sheikh?
No, that's it. I just wanted to know how to bring people awareness regarding it, because it's not shame, and if it would be shame, it wouldn't be allowed in Islam.
If you hang up, then listen to the television. You'll be able to hear it. I think that's what the problem is.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for calling.
So
yes,
just
Sheikh.
briefly, we'll cover this because I think we run out of time.
Yes.
Once again, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Holy Quran, in Surah An-Nisa, ayah 24, and various other rawayat and ahadith of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has conveyed this message to us, that this act is not only permitted, but it's something which is mustahab, and it's recommended. Now, anything that is recommended by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should not be looked down upon by His servants and His creation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best for us, even if we cannot see it.
Ahsantum. Thank you very much, Sheikhna, for shedding some light to this
Pleasure.
matter. Obviously, 30 minutes aren't enough to cover such a huge matter as marriage, but hopefully we managed to enlighten some of questions that maybe the brothers and sisters might have had. Yes, this is pretty much it for tonight, brothers and sisters. We would like to thank you for staying tuned to Safia TV, and hopefully we'll be able to see you tomorrow at the same time, inshallah. And yes, Sheikh, is there anything you would like to say to the viewers?
Just that we ask for everyone to keep us in their prayers, and we'll be praying for you in these holy nights, inshallah. I believe tomorrow we will not have a show, but inshallah Sunday we'll be back on it again, inshallah. So tomorrow there won't be this show, but on Sunday there will be the same time before Maghrib, about half an hour before Maghrib, inshallah. We'll have our show, inshallah. Walhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala Muhammadin wa ala baytihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin.
Allah.